All right, meanwhile, Brian, let's talk about the headline today, the cover of the New York Post. Yippee to yippee. Some are calling it the art of the tariff deals because global markets soared yesterday as President Trump paused the reciprocal tariffs on most nations for 90 days. And now the European Union is pulling plans to put retaliatory tariffs on the United States goods as well.
So one country is not getting a break, and that is Beijing. President Trump raising retaliatory tariffs on Chinese goods to 125%.
Our senior White House correspondent, Peter Doocy, joins us with the latest. Hey, Peter.
Good morning. President Trump was prepared for his tariff policy to lead to a recession, but he did not want the tariff policy to trigger a depression, according to an item published today in the Wall Street Journal.
Well, I thought that people were jumping a little bit out of line. They were getting yippy, you know? They were getting a little bit yippy, a little bit afraid. No other president would have done what I did. No other president. I know the presidents. They wouldn't have done it. And it had to be done.
The 90-day pause is met with a 90-day pause from the European Union. The European Commission President Ursula von der Leyen just wrote, "We took note of the announcement by President Trump. We want to give negotiations a chance while finalizing the adoption of the EU countermeasures. We saw strong support from our member states. We will put them on hold for 90 days. And the Goldman Sachs decision to pull their recession prediction comes after this close on Wall Street. The Dow was up 2,900, the S&P up 475, the NASDAQ up almost 1,900. White House officials now want credit, with 70-plus countries still calling to talk tariff rates.
Many of you in the media clearly missed the art of the deal. You clearly failed to see what President Trump is doing here. You tried to say that the rest of the world would be moved closer to China when in fact we've seen the opposite effect.
This was driven by the president's strategy. He and I had a long talk on Sunday, and this was his strategy all along. And that, you might even say that he goaded China into a bad position. They responded. They have shown themselves to the world to be the bad actors.
And there are various reports that over the weekend, Besant was given more authority by President Trump to start making more public comments to calm the markets while the post-Liberation Day tariffs were being digested by the rest of the world. And with that, after several days of being advised by talking heads not to look at your bank balance or your 401k, it's okay to look again.
It looks a little better today. So, Peter, he was getting calls from CEOs, Republican senators, the market reaction, stuff like that. But ultimately, it sounds like the straw that broke the tariffs back was the fact that there was a gigantic sell-off in U.S. Treasuries. And that's scary because in times of uncertainty around the world, people go to that. But they were pulling the plug on that, too.
And particularly scary because, as our Fox Business colleague Charlie Gasparino, who knows more about this stuff than anybody, pointed out, it was Japan, the largest holder of U.S. Treasury bonds, that was doing a lot of the selling, that was moving the bond market. And Japan, if a friendly that we have at the front of the line to do a tariff deal with is suddenly not confident in the U.S. economy and they're dumping bonds, that would create a huge crisis. And so that is what they were trying to head off when the Wall Street Journal talks about President Trump trying to avoid the possibility of a depression. That is, they saw it early and they made a pause. All of the deals that they said they're going to make between now and June are still going to get negotiated, except with China. We have no idea when that's going to happen. President Trump says he still thinks it's going to happen. No idea when.
Brian.
Well, yeah, thanks so much. I'll tell you what, there's a lot of behind-the-scenes things of what took place. The president just thought to the last minute, I'm going to see what's happening. I think the bonds played a role in it. I also think that a lot of sitting senators who he really respects was on with Sean Hannity on, I think it was Tuesday night. And they were saying basically that they got the president's back on this, but they are getting a lot of people, they were getting kind of nervous about it. And not only did it look like the president watched the show, which I think he does every night, but I think senators like Lindsey Graham called him after, and they wanted to know the game plan and what's going on, and basically that we should really start doing deals and changing around the market. Instead, the president does a massive one and says, I got 75 negotiations to deal with, minimum. I'll start dealing maybe Japan, Philippines, Vietnam, the UK, and then we find out what's going on, the EU, and then we could start, the market will go up gradually, or I could just do it across the board. And that's what happened, guys. So everyone that was getting so upset, look at the market, it's going up today. I'm curious to see what's going to happen when we open up, because when we started the show, I saw the futures were down.
Yeah.
Yeah. You know, some are saying that he just needs to start signing these deals now. And just win after win after win, and do all of this at the White House so that it's visible and public to all of us, and we can see how strong he is and how this actually worked. And the deals will create economic stability all around our world. There's 75 countries that are pleading with the president to negotiate trade agreements, and they need access to our markets. So it's only beneficial to them to do these deals.
Kevin Hassett, the director of National Economic Council, is going to be joining us at about 7:30 Eastern time, so you don't want to miss that.
I'm Steve Doocy.
I'm Brian Kilmeade.
And I'm Ainsley Earhart. And click here to subscribe to the Fox News YouTube page to catch our hottest interviews and most compelling analysis.